morning, everyone, and welcome to our latest TMA virtual legislative briefing. We'll be previewing the 2025 legislative session of the Illinois General Assembly. My name is Rich Carter. I'm TMA's government affairs consultant, and I'll be the moderator for today's briefing. We're joined by TMA state lobbyist David Curtin, and we're hoping to be joined soon by Leader Tony McCombie.
Question into the chat box for her.
Hold on, I think she might be coming on.
Oh,
Okay.
There she is. Oh.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
Awesome.
My internet is kind of lacking, so I'll try to stay off the video.
Oh, that's great. Well, David, do you want to go ahead and introduce Leader McCombie? We still have about probably 10, 15 minutes left.
Okay. Yeah.
Go through your
Well, Leader McCombie, thanks for coming back.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good to see you again.
We enjoyed having you last year, and you're a pretty good. We always appreciate the work you do to stand up for small and mid-sized manufacturers in the State House. And as leader of the House Republicans, you have a very important job. I'll just ask you about the what you think is coming up in January with perhaps, well, the lame duck session and the regular session. Do you have any thoughts as to what might be coming up that would affect the small and mid-sized manufacturers we might be interested in, whether it's taxes or whether it's energy or things like that? Any issues that will be front and center?
Well, that's a great question, and you may know more than I do. But as unfortunately, I think the first time we spoke, I was maybe a little naive, but certainly cautiously optimistic that we would be having good conversations with the speaker. And we're not doing that anymore, unfortunately. So, but on a plus side, our staff is not partisan and really doesn't care about politics. And our staffs, especially our chiefs, work very well together and do have conversations. And so the agenda, however, for lame duck, we don't even know yet. It's held for the 2nd to start. And
okay,
I can't imagine a world that people come down on January 2nd, but maybe they do. And we also don't have a lot to do in the scheme of things. I think they keep talking about what can they do to be preventative with Donald Trump, and Illinois is already in a position, I would say, that any threats that they feel they're going to have with Donald Trump legislatively, we've already handled under the dome for sure. So when I popped on, you were talking about immigration.
Yeah,
that probably is the only thing that is going to be a serious threat from the federal government. But that being said, that won't be in time for us for lame duck. And there's nothing that we as a state could do other than roll back the sanctuary state. So I don't believe the governor is going to do that.
right.
So we'll have to kind of figure out how we will handle their initiatives once he's actually in office. But lame duck, we won't have that yet. So
Okay.
it's just he won't be sworn in time.
Okay. Now, just real quickly on the last election, we're pretty much in the there was a lot of like, as a football game, everybody, the offensive line and the defensive line crashed up into each other, and there was a lot of dust. But after it settled, what's the political landscape in Illinois as far as the numbers of Democrats and Republicans in the House and the Senate? And did it change much?
No, it didn't, unfortunately. when you were talking about BIFAC, we actually came, I think it was Matt Bessler and Jamie Seamer came
Yeah.
and spoke.
Mhm.
Even up to election night, I personally, still had hope that we were going to pick up some seats, but we didn't. We were able to hold our 40, but we did not gain any, which was really unfortunate. But that being said,
Didn't lose it.
well, yeah, we didn't lose,
Yeah.
but we had great candidates,
Yeah.
and they were doing what we asked of them to do. We had measurables for them to meet, and that could have been door knocking, social media posts, coalitions, raising dollars. They were doing everything that they needed to do. We feel that we were very saturated with mail and digital. However, we didn't have enough funds to get on broadcast or cable.
Mhm.
And that's where they did spend. We were outspent 5-1, and that was also a problem. Very happy and thankful for everybody that helped donate and contribute and be a part of our team, but it's really hard to have our message out there effectively without the dollars. And we haven't had a millionaire governor in Illinois on the Republican side since I was elected. I have luckily benefited from Rauner bucks myself to help flip a seat, but we don't have that anymore. So it's very difficult, and eventually the Democrats won't have that either. So the seats will be.
And I don't know, this is kind of an inside baseball one, so I'll just mention it. And then I would like to ask you a question about the upcoming session. But the gerrymandering that has occurred in the map doesn't allow very many places to pick up seats because they're designed not to be competitive. Most of
Yeah,
the
that's right. That's
so,
right. I think I mentioned last time, and we don't have this number yet, but I'm excited to know the number. Last cycle, we had 70,000 more votes for GOP candidates. 70,000. Yet they hold 2/3 of the House. That really does show the map.
hmm,
Um,
hmm, interesting.
look forward to us having some map initiatives very soon.
Good, good. Well, the new session, January 8th to the end of May, um, you know, it's still going to happen and it's still going to be a session. We probably don't know um, what's going to happen. There'll be a lot of maybe um, PR from Pritzker that the media will cover and that sort of thing. But nuts and bolts wise, they have to get a budget done. And can you describe the budget state that we're in for the new session and what they might do to fill the holes in the budget? Because I heard there's a couple of holes coming up. But,
Yeah, there was a prediction or a forecast of a huge hole coming forward. It would be in the FY25 and also I think it was FY29. So they predicted it out. The governor, I saw, he was in Springfield at an event, and he was asked the question about that hole, and he kind of discounted it. Well, not kind of, he did discount it. Basically said, "Oh, that's just a forecast. They do this every year, but it's very different this year." His agency that helps to forecast and the other that is nonpartisan had the same forecast. So I think it's a legitimate hole that they're going to have to fix. And on top of that, we have the mass transit issue. They are, there's a lot of conversation what's going to happen with mass transit, and that affects so many people, even in some rural areas, quite honestly. I consider Springfield, McComb, as a college town where I went, and, they have mass transit there as well. A lot of communities like that, but still rural. So this is it's not just a city issue, but that is a fiscal cliff that they're facing. So you have the forecast, you have the fiscal cliff of the mass transit, but also you have the fix for tier 2 pensions. The law has stated that they can, excuse me, that they cannot make less on a pension than they would Social Security. It's the safe harbor. That is a fix that has to happen on tier 2. There is a bill that just came out from Representative Kifowit that basically rolls back tier 2 to be tier 1. Just to give a little history, in 2011, it was effective then in 2012. The changes to the pension. Today, the COLA is compounded every year. So basically, Stephanie's bill, which we all know it's just a bill today, but the Democrats do have control. The tier 2 would roll back almost every piece of it to replicate tier 1, with the difference of not a compounding COLA. There is talk of a tax increase, putting that tax into a lockbox for 10 years. Well, everybody on this Zoom is probably not going to be involved or caring what's going on. Hopefully we're all in Florida or Tennessee or somewhere retired in 10 years. A deal we make today is probably not a deal that's going to continue. So if they do raise taxes today for a pension, they're going to probably just keep that tax, which is a real problem.
I see.
I know they would want bipartisan support for anything to fix a budget hole, but it's going to really be an issue for us to have conversations with them on any sort of bipartisan support, just because of how bad the last 2 years has been.
Okay, Leader McCombie, real quick, the pension stuff that you're talking about, that just applies to state workers, right?
Oh, yes and no.
Okay.
Teachers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
anybody that we have 5 different pensions. So it's not just state employees.
Okay. 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 And do you have any, do you think the governor is reaching down in his pocket for the regressive tax or any taxes on business that we might be concerned about, whether they're covert taxes or otherwise? Is that, do you see anything on the table, or do you see anything coming, or not?
Well, we certainly hope not, but just last year, there was about $1 million tax increase on small businesses. Certainly you have small manufacturers.
Yeah.
It may not have affected them today, but it does affect them, or last May, but it does affect them when their employees are coming forward and saying, I now have to pay this for that, and I need a raise in my salary because of that. So it certainly does affect everybody, but there are when Representative Wheeler was in office and the gas tax came in, a capital bill, whether it was horizontal for roads and bridges or vertical for buildings, and think of it that way. There was a deal made, and a lot of that was rolled back, whether it was the corporate franchise tax, the retailer's discount. There was a lot of pieces that Leader Durkin was able to get in there. Unfortunately, a lot of that was rolled back the next year. But yeah, there certainly is a potential tax increase for biodiesel, capping retailers' discount, all of these things, income tax, all of these things are certainly going to affect your organization 100%.
Yeah, yeah. You
David,
they at least
David, we have a
table.
sorry, we have some questions coming in from members. Is that okay if we jump in real quick with them?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks. Leader McCombie, we do have a couple of questions from TMA members. I think they're aware that you had introduced some energy legislation to roll back some of the clean energy targets from, I believe it was the CEJA bill. They're very concerned about rising energy costs with TMA, especially I think earlier this year we saw the energy auction from PJM came in like 800% higher than the year before. What are you seeing? Do you think anything's going to be done to kind of put the reins on these rising energy costs here in Illinois and Springfield?
Well, I wish I could BS you and say, of course, but no. I'm going to be very honest. I supported CEJA. I've got two nuclear plants. I had one in my first district and one now in my current. But there was definitely things in that bill that, like there are in all bills, that were not acceptable to me. So we have to do some things. But I actually went through a coal plant in Southern Illinois, a facility that had 300 employees, I think within the last 5 years. So within my time here, I've been here, this is closing in on my 8th year, and now they had 60 employees. They were very proactive here in Illinois in the coal industry to clean coal, I guess you could say, with their scrubbers. And our coal burns very well. We have good coal here. Now we are shipping in coal on a rail car from a different state that is not clean to serve the needs of Illinois. That is really silly, because just because we're not manufacturing it, even though it's good for us here in Illinois, we're still using it, but we're just going to pay extra, and it's not good for the environment what other states do. They're not as proactive as our coal industry was. And like I said, it's coming in on a rail car. What my bills do is to extend the deadlines, 5 years and 10 years. So they could pick one, because there is no way in God's green earth that we are going to be zero carbon in the timeline that has been set forward. The governor, right after the election, doubled down on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, saying that he still is very strong on his deadlines. So as much as I wish I could say we are going to reconsider, we're not, as long as he is the governor. Now, that being said, there is also no way that we're going to meet those dates. So he will have to extend anyways. But in the meantime, companies are not investing, they're not expanding. And it's also very disingenuous when here we are in Springfield, the capital city, we are exempt from those deadlines. Our capital is, as a city, is served by coal. and we are exempt. So that's just a typical government,
Yeah.
and it goes to show how they care little about those around them, because they know they can get coal from other states rather than literally right in our backyard. But ours would extend the deadlines, and they're going to have to do that regardless of, because it's just not a good date for that to happen.
Great. Thanks, Leader McCombie. A couple more questions really quick. There was a bill that TMA was involved in last year that had to do with the Biometric Information Privacy Act. It was passed. I know some were concerned it didn't go far enough. However, there was a recent, I'm not sure if you saw, there was a recent judicial decision on BIPA where the judge stated that based on the intent, the legislative intent, that yes, the BIPA amendment is retroactive and takes it back to the beginning of the law in 2008, which is quite a relief for TMA members and other business owners in Illinois who were being sued under BIPA currently. Are you aware of that ruling, and how solid do you think it is?
I agree. It didn't go far enough, but we were asked by several different organizations and companies and advocates this is a start. This is not the end. We need to pass something quickly. And I don't think that is the end of it here. That would be something I believe will be tackled in the 104th General Assembly. Unfortunately, we do not have a bipartisan, bicameral working group on the issue. But that being said, there are Democrat leaders on the topic that have included Republican members who are very knowledgeable in the field. So even though leadership might not have us included in a working group, the members, the rank and file, are discussing and talking about a true solution for BIPA.
Great,
So
thanks.
I do see that in the 104.
Got it. Great. We do have one more question. I know we're running a little late here. Question is, again, what you were discussing earlier about the budget hole and the fiscal cliff and transportation. We're talking billions of dollars that are going to be needed. The question is, following the referendum vote on the millionaires tax this November, Pat Quinn and the Chicago Teachers Union are again calling on state Democrats to push for another constitutional amendment for a progressive tax in 2026, which would obviously really hurt small manufacturers. And in fact, TMA was part of a significant coalition that fought it the first time, and fortunately we won. What are you hearing on that? Or do we have to be concerned about this coming back in 2026? Is there anything we can do to push back on it?
Yeah. So that initiative, the advisory question, how it's worded is always the key, right? That is their push for a graduated income tax. That certainly would be a fix to the solution that they have with the whole, but again, it is a temporary fix, because if you're not going to have any structural reform or a reform on spending, you're just going to get in this position again, even with a graduated income tax. I thank you for the help last time with that initiative. There will be another, and I will ask for your help again to stop that. They will come out and say it was a resounding yes for millionaires, and they will word it in the way that the public has spoke, but this is not a millionaire's tax. This will be our sales tax in Illinois actually is one of the only good things that we have, even with the small increase that was done in 2017 with the budget impasse. with it being a flat tax. It is not regressive. It would become very regressive, very complicated. And it was funny. I was watching a podcast and they were talking about Doge, and if you wanted to fix the IRS, well, just make the federal tax flat and get rid of all of these crazy tax laws, and you could downsize the IRS. And that's absolutely true. But government is hard to make smaller once you make it so big. What it'll do here in Illinois, if that were to pass, if people think like your organization said, well, the folks spoke, and they don't want that. They've already done this, and you stay out of it this time. That will be a concern, because individuals will say, well, it's okay. We don't hear from TMA. We don't hear from BIFAC. We don't hear from Farm Bureau. We don't hear from all these organizations. So it's going to be extremely important that you're very loud and present in that position. Otherwise, we will have a graduated income tax for sure.
Great. Thanks, Leader McCombie. Well, we're out of questions, and fortunately, we've run out of time. We've actually run over time. So we really appreciate you coming on, Leader McCombie. Before we leave, though, do you have any closing thoughts for TMA members?
Well, first, I appreciate you all sticking with us. I know it went a little longer. I seen a couple people have dropped off, so I apologize for that. But manufacturing, like agriculture, is essential to our state and our caucus. They say, we have 40 members. Several feel we're irrelevant, but we're the only caucus that represents parts of all 102 counties. I think that's an important piece that we need to stress. We certainly support the manufacturing industry and support your growth. We understand it's hard to grow in Illinois, and I continue, and I just ran for our leadership position again, even without picking up seats. But I would not have done that if I didn't have hope for Illinois and Illinois' growth. We are one of the greatest states, certainly the greatest state in the Midwest. And just hold on, continue to support your folks, your communities. Manufacturing is the staple in a lot of small communities and rural communities. So please invite lawmakers into your businesses. I think I said that last time. It's important, especially those that may disagree with you, disagree with maybe even what you produce. It's important to bring them into your manufacturer setting and explain, have them meet people, show how important you are to the economy, and invite me. I may not be your legislator, but we can certainly, as the minority leader, I represent the state, and we will certainly make sure you have a good team of folks coming to learn more about you. So I just want to say thank you. I am hopeful and encouraged that there will be more balance in Illinois, and just very thankful for all of you.
Well, thank you, Leader McCombie. That will do it for today's virtual briefing. I want to thank Leader Tony McCombie for joining us today, along with TMA State Lobbyist David Curtin. And of course, we want to thank all of our TMA members who took time out of their day to join us today. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Goodbye.